No, it's just, it's not showing up there, but I don't know.
At least tap it on my. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know why it's not showing.
I don't know.
But you see.
We do need to get it synced a little better. Because this one's 5:01 now.
At least
We're just
they'll
waiting
know
for the
I can
timer.
count backwards.
It's the public clock, what can I say?
She's a smart one. She can count backwards. It's okay. At least I've got it covered. Backwards ABCs, definitely not.
All right, so
Okay.
we will call this special meeting of the Palmer City Council to order on February 21st, 2025 at 5 p.m. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Cooper,
Here.
Councilmember Best, Councilmember Graver,
Here.
Mayor Carrington,
Here.
Councilmember Hudson,
Here.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Here.
Okay?
Okay. And then if we could stand, and Amy Bouchatz, could I ask you to lead us in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next is approval of the agenda. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve. Second.
Is there any objection to the agenda as presented? Okay. Oh, you do. Okay. Councilmember Alcantara.
No objection, Mr. Mayor, thank you, but just want to be completely clear here because I see Richard up here on the screen.
No,
We
that's
talked,
different.
that's a different
That's-
Richard. Oh,
that's-
so Councilmember Best is
That's
not
the
here.
HR.
Not in there.
Okay,
Okay.
very good, thank you.
So no objection, or should
No
we do a
objection.
roll call
Thank-
vote?
Okay.
Okay, so we'll declare that as unanimous approval. Next is new business city manager candidate interviews. I believe we have,
Let me let her in. Oh, and then Mr. Best is on there too. I have to
Okay.
let him in.
Mr. Best.
I believe that's him. I can't tell. I'm gonna.
That's a phone number.
Let me admit. You guys can figure it out yourselves.
Okay, do we have, who do we have in our room now? We have on Zoom.
We have Carla and Rick, which are the HR people.
Okay.
We have Colby Hickle, and we have, it's like
A phone number.
phone number, which I'm thinking is Mr. Best, but I cannot tell.
Okay,
You could ask him.
all right. Mr. Best, are you on the line? Okay. Ms. Ms. Hickle, are you on the line? Can they hear us?
Hold on. All right, try it again.
Okay. Colby, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. What's that?
And what's,
Who's the phone number? What's the number?
715-4317.
4317? Okay. And who's on the phone that's in the Zoom, on the phone call? Okay, I'm not identifying, so just, what's that? No? Yeah.
It looks like they're muted, whoever it is.
Okay.
So I don't. I am
Over on the side.
Who is it?
over
Over
here.
here.
Is it Amy?
It's Richard. Number's been confirmed.
Okay, so.
Mr. Mayor.
Just a second. Ask to unmute, or let's see what our other options. Remove.
Okay,
So let me-
go ahead.
Okay, hold on, hold on, everybody.
Okay. All right.
And the firefly.
Okay, okay.
Sorry for our technical challenges, Colby.
Not a problem. Do you
All
want
right.
the video to be streaming or closed off? Because I don't mind either way if you can see my face.
Yeah, if you don't mind, it's kind of nice to see your face.
There she is.
Okay,
Okay, that's better.
all right. Well, welcome. And we have a
Thank you.
few questions for you.
Okay.
What is it about the city of Palmer that makes you want to be our next city manager?
That's a great question. Well, I'm born and raised Alaskan. So I know Alaska, I know Anchorage, and I know Palmer, and I know the Valley. And Palmer's always had a unique, special place in my heart. And I love its strong sense of community and commitment to growth while maintaining its local charm. And it really resonates with my passion for economic development while simultaneously improving municipal services. And which makes it an exciting place for the potential to live there and work there, because it'll allow me to contribute my expertise in municipal governance as well as the private sector experience that I have.
All right. Does any council have a follow-up question on that? All right. Next, what skills or experiences make you the best match to be the city manager?
Well, during my tenure as deputy municipal manager for Anchorage, I oversaw complex operations and managed the large-scale projects like the $2 billion Port of Alaska Modernization Program as the program manager. So I made all of the decisions, the short-term and the long-term decisions. And you can combine that with my strategic planning skills, and it uniquely positions me to address Palmer's needs effectively going into the future. I have strong planning skills, which were demonstrated when I was overseeing the Cargo Terminal 1 portion of the Port of Alaska Modernization Program and Cargo Terminal 2. And by navigating competing interests, I saw through opinions and short-term gains and focused on a final design for both terminals that will sustain Alaska's needs over 75 years once it's finally completed. I also have experience in assessing long-term needs for the city and departments by working with department heads and those within the department to make sustainable plans for the future. This allows me to navigate city issues as well as during times of crisis, which I also have experience in emergency management here in Anchorage. Lastly, I have experience in both the private and government sectors and significant HR experience in both of those sectors. I've hired everyone from executives to laborers. And I can communicate effectively with everyone from executives to laborers and political figures. There really isn't anyone I can't talk to. And I believe Palmer is in a good position to look for economic and community growth, and I'm here to help with that.
All right. Any follow-up questions from council? Okay. What do you see as key issues facing the city of Palmer?
I think a big key feature facing Palmer is road infrastructure development, and also making Palmer a destination for tourists and local tourists, not just the ones that come up out of state seasonally. We need to expand its economic sustainability and community engagement that's surrounded by trust. All of these require collaborative approaches to ensure long-term growth. And it's really safe to say, like any expanding city, parking is an issue that must be thoughtfully considered. It's really important that Palmer doesn't lose its small city charm and must be very thoughtful in any development plans that it has. And that is a big key issue, is keeping that small town charm and also promoting economic development.
All right. Any follow-up questions from council? In your current position or in in your current position or your last position, how many direct report employees did you have working for you? And how many did you write performance reviews for?
Sure. I can touch on the last couple of jobs I've had. I have a long history of managing multiple direct reports and conducting performance reviews. As Deputy Municipal Manager, I oversaw departments including Public Transportation, Solid Waste Services, the Port of Alaska, Anchorage Water, Wastewater Utility, Anchorage Hydropower, Safety, Transportation Inspection, and Merrill Field, just to name a few. When I was Vice President of Operations, I oversaw office and field staff of over 20, and in my current position, I oversee the Alaska operations and am heavily invested in serving all Alaskans, including Palmer. Conducting performance reviews was a necessary occurrence in each position that I've had, and ensuring accountability and professional development were a part of those performance reviews.
All right. Any follow-up from council? All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yes. Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you. Ma'am, thanks for that answer. I was just wondering, did I miss it? How many people do you have directly reporting to you, and how many did you actually report on or write performance reviews on?
In the Deputy Municipal Manager, I was over Public Transportation, Solid Waste Services, Port of Alaska, Anchorage Water, Wastewater Utility, Anchorage Hydropower, Safety, Transportation Inspection, and Merrill Field. And safety was the overall OSHA program. So I had all of those department heads as direct reports. At Vice President of Operations at TechPro, I had all of the office staff and field staff. That number would vary because during construction season, we would beef up our laborers and our contract work. So that would go from anywhere from 20 to 35-ish. And in my current position with Senator Sullivan's office, as you guys well know, I'm overseeing the Alaska operations, so all of the Alaska staff.
Okay. How do you work with a group of people who do not agree with you or have differing opinions as you?
That's a great question. I have experience in this very well. I can go back to many, many examples, but I'll start how I do it. First and foremost, I prioritize active listening and open dialogue. I seek common ground and collaborate so I can ensure all perspectives are considered and differing opinions are also considered. It's very important that everyone feels included in the decision-making process, whether at the end of the day, some people might not get exactly what they want. There's at least common ground for everyone to be a part of that decision-making process. Additionally, I can easily navigate confirmation bias and those with opposite opinions by easily deciphering between facts, opinion statements, and then really just boil down what is ultimately the best path forward for the community or the project, whatever that is, the decision I'm making, it's gotta be the best path for that project or that community, not necessarily someone's opinion.
Kind of a follow-up on that. Describe a time when you navigated a conflict resolution, and what management practices do you use to navigate a resolution?
Sure. So again, I'll touch back on my time in Anchorage with the Instrument Flight Procedure Project at Merrill Field. I was the acting director of that for over 8 months, and probably in the entire tenure that I was there for almost a year and a half. This project brought about significant safety enhancements to the airport and the surrounding community. Ultimately, we had an authority figure that distributed false information to community councils, which rightfully generated concern enough that these people were convinced the municipality and the FAA were going to take their homes. And that's just not what was going to happen with these instrument flight procedures. And it nearly stopped the project. We had people from the community councils to local representatives to state representatives emailing in, calling, and asking about it. And again, based on that false information, they were rightfully concerned. However, I stepped in, I took over, I rearranged the schedule for publication, and I set up meetings with community councils and local representatives, FAA representatives, subject matter experts, people that were independent from the administration, that were independent from me. I even invited it was the MAC board, the Municipal Airports Advisory Commission, it's an advisory commission that oversees Merrill-Field. I invited the chair and the co-chair from them as well. And then we corrected that false information and we garnered trust for the project. And within 2 months, this language project came to fruition and I published the procedures. And within weeks of this publication, we had an air carrier at Merrill-Field experience its first successful landing in IFR conditions using those procedures. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah. Is there a follow-up from council? What is your experience with strategic planning?
Great question. I will touch on my time as a Port of Alaska Modernization Program Manager. Again, this is a multi-billion-dollar project that required me to thoughtfully plan for both the short-term and long-term viability while balancing the needs of the industry and the state. This project is taking years to unfold. The cargo terminal 1 won't finish completion of construction until about 2030, 31-ish, depending on how our construction season goes and the permitting and, things change around here, but that's the goal. And then we also had to plan for and navigate the challenges of Alaska's unique construction season, especially in a marine environment. And this interconnected complex project where you're balancing all of these needs from federal regulations to state regulations to local regulations required me to strategically plan all of this and balancing all the moving parts and making these decisions across, with a cross-functional team in collaboration. Meeting these multi-year milestones took a lot of thought and time and collaboration with people with differing opinions. And then we successfully published the RFP for the cargo terminal, which I'm very, very proud of. That took years before me, help building up to it, and then came in and I changed the design and garnered trust from everyone, and we got this RFP published. And again, this will secure Alaska's security for the next 75 years. So it wasn't just an Anchorage thing. This was really looking at what was the best for the entire state.
And you probably hit some of this already, but provide an example of how you conducted strategic planning and goal setting in the past.
Well, it was basically sitting down and looking at the needs of the project, looking at the needs of the state, looking at all of the team members from industry experts, subject matter experts in the construction industry, from the federal delegates, from federal MIRA, EPA permitting, all of that. We all had to come together and create this plan and strategically align it out so that in each construction season, we were making progress. And delays, we could have slight delays in our schedule, but really our direction was get this built as fast as possible, because if this port goes down, Alaska's going to be in a world of hurt. People will have to leave the state. Like, we are on its last legs. It's I don't know if you ever toured the port before, but there's holes in the piles. So we really had to come together and work with everyone and strategically plan out this RFP and this design. And that's by meeting with people and listening to subject matter experts as well.
And what were the results of that?
We published the RFP, and for the Cargo Terminal 1, we got it approved by the Assembly, which is part of the process, and it hit the streets.
All right. Is there any follow-up from council? Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a follow-up on that project. Do you have to deal with any kind of, let's say, like curveballs that were thrown from either changing regulations or changing expectations from any of the stakeholders? I was just curious if you have any experience with that. I understand like the long term, but sometimes you have to kind of adjust the plans based upon new developments.
Absolutely. So there's two different things I can touch on. When I first started the design for Cargo Terminal 1 had a design for one of the terminals that was more of there's lift on, lift off, roll on, roll off. And they were two different widths and sizes, except for where the industry is going is more a uniform lift on, lift off, or a combination of lift on, roll off. So they're combination ships. Rather than building one of the terminals just for the roll on, roll off, I wanted to design that terminal so that when these any operator in the world could pull up to that terminal and offload goods, not just a roll on, roll off operator. I wanted both mechanisms to be able to use at that port and at that particular terminal. And there was some pushback from some of the industry operators that were using it currently that weren't ready to shift their models for another about 25 years to this to lift on, lift off. But we worked with them and we got a design that they back. And it is a uniform face dock across Terminal 1 and Terminal 2 that they support. And then as far as curveballs, I could go back to the MIRAD NEPA process. We thought we were all ready to go and ready to turn dirt. And we got the EPA permitting, the Corps signed off on it. And then MIRAD comes in and they want their own independent NEPA process, even though we'd already, completed one. And it was really pushing up against our time frame for construction. But if we had turned any dirt, even one spoonful of dirt in this particular area, we would have lost a $68 million grant. And then we also would have lost the matching funds that the state gave us, which would have been another $68 million. So we're looking at like a $134 million loss for this entire program. And so we worked with our congressional delegation, we worked with MIRAD heads, we worked with state and local representatives, and we came with a quick, thorough plan to work together. And there was a slight delay in our construction season, but we got it going, and with little delays. They were slight, few weeks, but nothing significant. We didn't lose an entire construction season because we all worked together collaboratively.
How have you identified and leveraged revenue-generating opportunities within community operations? Can you provide specific examples?
Sure. Basically, it's my curiosity to drive and understand the needs of the community, which are certainly unique in Palmer, and being open to all business enterprises and various channels of input for communication allows me to make the best plans to cover service gaps and develop these revenue-generating ideas like enhanced service contracts, public-private partnerships. These will all ensure financial sustainability. I also believe in finding efficiencies in government, so it can demonstrate to the taxpayers that we're using their money wisely, holding department heads accountable and responsible for their budgets, so we aren't wasting money on projects that aren't a priority for the community or aligned with the mission of Palmer. Obviously, budget accountability is always the first step. City can overcome any economic challenge if they're watching their budget, and really, one doesn't really have to reinvent the wheel. And I was reading this great article about how Oklahoma City had revitalized their entire city center. And that's a good project for Palmer to look at to revitalize their community. It would obviously be more Palmer size, more right size for that. But if you could take a look at that, they really completely turned around their city. It brought people into Oklahoma City Center, and at that point, before it was done, it was in complete disarray.
And I think I didn't see Councilmember Cooper may have a follow-up question.
Thank you, ma'am. This is from the previous question. Memory might fail me, but you were in charge of sewer and water, right? I mean, you had direct. So, and I think Anchorage had some problems with their sewer water system that I think you got involved in. Could you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Well, we had some sinkhole problems. They probably I'm sure you read the paper, but we had some huge sinkhole problems where the lines failed. But we got our crew out there and we got it fixed. And really, we just have some aging infrastructure that we need to fix. And also, actually, part of my time when I was vice president of operations, my company put in there and did the SCADA system at AWU, and that basically is their automation system. So you can press the buttons and the water flows can change, ebb and flow, and change things in their sewer treatment plant.
Okay. What are some innovative approaches you've implemented to increase revenue and reduce costs in your previous roles?
Okay. At Solid Waste Services, I implemented cost-saving measures through process optimization and negotiated contracts that resulted in lowering those contracts and budget reductions and maintaining service quality. But what was really great is I helped oversee the materials recovery facility and expanded the organics program, which simultaneously reduced landfill waste, making a win-win for two segments of Solid Waste Services, because by reducing landfill waste, we prolong the life of the landfill. And then having that materials recovery facility, people could go there and recycle like certain plastics, and people can actually take them. And then we had a company partner with us, and they took those plastics and they actually can make furniture out of it.
Council have any
I don't
follow-up
have any
questions?
pictures of that though.
Yeah. Does council have any follow-up questions on that? Do you have any questions or comments that you want to make?
Yes, I'd like to learn more about the strategies you see as key to addressing turnover without exceeding your budget constraints.
Strategies. Well, anybody? Councilmember Alcantara.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mrs. Zirkle, thank you very much for showing up to be an interview tonight. I think your answers, especially to the first two questions, show your desire to become a Palmer City Manager, and really, really appreciate you taking the time, not just to apply, but also show up on a Friday evening interview and other things. So I just want to say, I hope you have a great weekend, and I really do appreciate your answers. There's a very good thought process behind them, and I wish you the best, and hope you have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other council member? Do you have any other questions or comments for us?
Yes. In the council's view, what would be the new city manager's primary focus within the first 30 to 60 days? I know what I would do, but I would like to see what the council would like to see as well.
Deputy Mayor Tudor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of speaking for myself a little bit here, but I think it's probably going to be reflected by the rest of the council. A lot of it's just kind of getting used to the lay of the land, finding out, how we do things here in Palmer from the various departments, who the stakeholders are, what the needs of the community are. A lot of it is going to be just observing and learning. And then after that, then developing, helping develop a strategic plan, helping develop ways that we can reduce waste, increase efficiency, and basically support city staff to better support our community. And, and just kind of brainstorm during that time of needs in the community that you could see that we as a city government can do to help our economy and also just help our residents to have a better experience here living in Palmer.
Great.
Councilmember Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would echo what the Deputy Mayor said, but one of the things you probably have read in the paper or seen in studying about the city of Palmer is 2 years ago we had a library collapse in February of 23. Here we're sitting in February of 25, and a lot of progress has been made slowly and incrementally, nowhere nearly as quickly as I would like to see it happen. So there's that for Palmer. That's a big project, no matter which side of the table you're on, whether you think it should be a $14 million or a $19 million library. Somewhere in there is probably the sweet spot And that's a big project for Palmer. You know, as you know, Palmer's not Anchorage. We don't have $136 million projects. So, so that's a big one that I hope once a city manager gets his or her feet on the ground and studies a little bit, that they could really kind of wrestle that alligator to the ground and get that thing moving, you know, not haphazardly, but as quickly as we can. I mean, I've you know, became a granddad since then. I want to actually see my granddaughter be able to go into the library before she's in kindergarten. So, thank you.
And I think the one thing I would stress is probably working on communication. So as you know, if you are a manager, of how you perceive things, of working on ways to communicate with the council and helping us to understand what you see as well as what we see about things.
Well, one thing I will add is I'm open to constructive criticism, feedback, and if people like to have text messages, emails, or phone calls, I do my best to tailor whatever communication style that person needs.
Any other questions?
Oh, I was you kind of answered some of it, but how does Palmer support its local businesses, and what initiatives do you have in place to promote local entrepreneurship rather than seeing people leaving Palmer? Like, how are we, or are there initiatives already in place?
Deputy Mayor?
I think it was first time we go for this button.
I saw your finger.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And and I think we could, you know, and as a government, you know, we could always help improve that, you know, by working with our business community. You know, we have a good relationship with a lot of the businesses here in town and with like the Chamber of Commerce, and you know, we actively work to support a lot of community events that we have that bring in people to town, such, you know. And we also, you know, our community development department works really hard to ensure that we're able to help people that want to start businesses to have the tools they need to do that. We don't really have a direct like entrepreneurship type program, but I think things like that are excellent to implement. You know, we are going to be a city going to be going to the Small Business Development Conference in Anchorage to try to help promote our town and doing what we can to just to make sure that Palmer's open for business.
Yeah, that's great. Government efficiency will really help that.
And I would slightly disagree with the deputy mayor. We have a council member grant program where people can apply for different, you know, and it's usually a small amount of money. We're talking, you know, $1,000 or $2,000, but it's a way for either businesses or just individuals to come up with an idea. And I think that's how a few of the projects that have started out with, like Who Let the Girls Out and others, use that as a way to get a little bit of extra money to do things. Yeah,
for sure.
Any other questions or last comments from you, Colby?
No, I'm good. I'm sure I will think of questions later, but for now I'm good.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? Councilmember Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. One last thought, 'cause I can't let this one go yet. Ms. Zirkle, you currently reside in Anchorage, I imagine, and I loved your answers to question 1 and 2, as I mentioned. So I have to assume, as dangerous a word as that is, that you'd be ready to and willing to be a Palmerite and come here and live in the city of Palmer in that 6-month window, or in a window that would be workable.
Yes, I understand that constraint, and I would be ready to do that. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Okay, well, thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll be in contact here in the next little bit.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
And now we're on to there's audience participation. So you can go ahead and score of it as we hear from the audience, all 3 of them. Please start with your name. You have 3 minutes, et cetera, et cetera. Mike.
Hello,
There you go.
you can hear me now. Thank you. My name is Mike Malevsky. I live at 325 East Fireweed Avenue here in beautiful downtown Palmer. I want to applaud, first of all, that you have interviewed 3 different candidates, and now you're faced with the question of who do you choose, how do you negotiate, how do you get it signed off and make it happen. I was struck, however, when the candidate asked the question of what the council thinks, that it appeared to take a bit to figure that out. Now, I'm building on something that the deputy mayor, Mr. Tudor, had suggested, is that you might want to, when the new manager is selected, have a learning experience that extends so that you're better able to act as a council. And I think I was almost hoping that someone would say that because it was prominent to the point that you brought it up. And I think that and I appreciated that individuals spoke to what they thought were important things to work on, but the council didn't. I didn't hear a kind of a voice that said, you know, we have 2 or 3 things we've been talking about and they are such and such. You can speak for yourself, but really to get a sense of the council doing it. And I know you know that, but I wanted to take a minute or 2 to say, okay, I think that's something that's observable by others as well. It's come up. So whoever you choose, I think following through on that idea of really reflecting on how, as a council, you can work on all of these issues would be a good idea. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else for audience participation? Okay, we'll close audience participation. Did you want to? No? Okay. Council member comments. Councilmember Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep it a little bit brief because there's such a dearth of folks in the audience, and I realize, having meetings on a Friday is not the optimum experience, but I appreciate the fact that 6 of 7 council members and city manager and the clerks and the folks show up for it, so that's good, and it's important work that we need to get done, and it's kind of waited too long is why we're here on not the most opportune times. I want to say trip to Alaska Municipal League in Juneau this week with the mayor and council members Hudson and Graver. I think went extremely well. I'm always a little bit, some will say overconfident, some will say cocky when it comes to Juneau experiences, and I totally thought I am to go down there and teach these council members a thing or two. In reality, I learned from them more than I ever taught them. I might be able to teach them, where the bathrooms are located, but they taught me a lot more on how to interact with people and other things. So it was good. It was good to have a majority of council down there, including the mayor, and I think it went well. I hope there's somebody out there listening to Big Cabbage Radio tonight, because yesterday when I left Anchorage, I got the I left Juneau to come back to Anchorage. The unfortunate news that my nephew, Pierce LaFrance, had passed away. And this young man, now not a kid anymore by any means, but he was only 32 years old. 2011 graduate of Palmer High, extreme athlete. There's a lot of photos out there on Facebook, him jumping off 100-foot cliffs and other things, but a semi-pro hockey player, a robust young man of, only about 5'9", but about 170 chiseled pounds of a mean hockey player, and never one of those hockey players that lived to drop gloves and knock people out kind of thing. So he had no underlying health conditions, but he did something that I hope my children and I hope young adults and old adults won't do. And when you dip into the world of drugs for entertainment, in this day and age, and cocaine is laced with fentanyl or other things, it doesn't matter how young you are, how healthy you are, how your life is, you could end up as Pierce did. And it's the second child of my sister who lives here in the city of Palmer, so Lauren Ray LaFrance. And this is now, they lost a 23-year-old son and now a 32-year-old son. And it's a tragedy of epic proportions, but my word of caution to anybody out there is that chasing a higher high is not worth it. And when you think it's only one line, it's only one pill, it's not the same as it was 40 years ago. And I hope people don't take that one time, because one time is all it takes to not come back from it. So that's it for tonight, and hope everybody has a good weekend.
Councilmember Cooper?
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing this evening.
Okay. Councilmember Graver?
Just thank you to Ms. Hickle for her interview and taking the time to come before us a third time. I think that says a lot, and that's all I have.
Okay. Councilmember Hudson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just also wanted to just say I had a fabulous time in Juneau this last week, and I just wanted to thank all of our senators and representatives, all of their staff and legal aides and everybody that serves at our Capitol for the tremendous amount of support that they gave to some of the council members that are sitting at this dais, and all the teaching and all the time that they took and spent with us this week. It was very exceptional, the things that they did for us this week, and I'll be forever grateful for the ability to go. And I also just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Colby Hickle-Zirkle for her interview today, and to all of our candidates for taking time to interview with us. Thank you so much.
All right. Deputy Mayor Tudor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I just wanted to have my condolences to the loss for Councilman Alcantara. That's a tragedy. I'm sorry for what happened to you and your family. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to all the council members and the mayor for the hard work you guys did at AML down in Juneau. It's really important work to go down there, and I just thank you for doing that. And just thank you for all the applicants for interviewing with us. I know it's not the funnest thing to do these on Friday evenings, but I appreciate you doing that, and just appreciate your interest in Palmer. Thank you.
And yes, I'd also want to offer condolences to John Alcantara for the loss. Next, we have executive session, subject to the intent to prejudice the reputation and character of any person. City manager candidates, and let's see, all city manager candidates may be discussed during the executive session. Personnel action regarding the city manager candidates may be taken following the executive session. And in that executive session, I think we will be inviting the interim manager and S3 people into the executive session. Is that Councilmember Hudson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Currently, the situation in Palmer is unique, and the interim manager is a current department manager. So once the permanent city manager is selected, the interim manager will return to his previous position, and he will be a subordinate of the new city manager. So for these reasons, I just believe the interim manager should not be in executive session or have further involvement in the hiring process with that. Thank you.
Okay. What does the rest of the council think? Councilmember Cooper?
Well, thank you, Mayor. I think he should be here. He's got some experience in what's been going on over the past number of months and can offer insight as to actually the day-to-day workings, working with the office people here, working with department directors, and some insight as to potentially where we're going in the future. So I would rather have him here than not. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Graver?
The Deputy Mayor.
Oh, Mr. Mayor,
Deputy Mayor?
I was curious if during the last hiring process, if we had the city manager in that process or not. I don't recall.
I don't recall either.
Blank.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Graver?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You're referring to previous manager Musi?
Yeah,
I believe.
he was present.
He was not, as far as I remember.
Yeah. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, if we, you know, I think, I definitely respect our interim city manager, John Dementi's expertise, but I think just to keep it, you know, the way we normally do this for this hiring process, it'd be best for us to do what we normally have done and not have the city manager involved with it directly. Thank you.
I would agree with the Deputy Mayor on that.
Councilmember Graver, okay. Councilmember Alcantara?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ask people to kind of eat their mics a little bit so I can hear people better, especially Councilmember Tudor. I am torn a little bit, but I do appreciate the fact that City Manager Musi was not part of the last part, and last negotiation round or last round of interviews. I do think it creates a uncomfortable position for our interim city manager, and the fact that he is hopefully going to go back into his role, and that'll work out well. But I agree with my other council members that I think it's probably best to remove him from this process and then let him start fresh with whoever our choice ends up being. I do think I have thoughts of, and we talked last time about having the deputy mayor, the mayor, and the city attorney as kind of a negotiation team and a hiring team. So, yeah, I would go along with my other fellow council members here and say that's probably the best move is to not force him through that. Thank you.
Okay, and I guess my thought would have been, he could have started off with the executive session just to give us a summary of how things have been going, but if that's not what people want, then that's fine. I guess we'll just have our HR firm S3 with us in there. Okay?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Graver.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is it possible to hear that update before we go into executive session?
I would second that before we enter executive session.
Okay, I don't know if it would be appropriate in executive session or not, so. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know that I have too much to update you on. We do have S3 here to join you tonight. They can, they are experienced in making offers and doing the negotiation process as well. And they are an experienced HR, an HR company, so they will be able to offer you professional advice. I don't know what more I would be able to offer you. As far as an update, I don't know that I have any information that has not already been communicated to council.
Okay. All right, so we're looking for a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Graver.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to move into executive session. Do I need to read all this? Concerning subjects that tend to prejudice the reputation and character of any person, city manager candidates.
Second.
Wait, do I need to read the rest?
And to include.
What's that? To include S3.
Okay. And there was a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Any more discussion? Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
All right,
Unanimous.
so we'll take a few minutes to set up here.